Meow meow.
Yep.
Meow meow.
That was just me. It's a quick latency.
All right, hi everyone, welcome. I've got Amanda Chaudhary with me from CatSynth TV. We had some technical difficulties, so that's why it's starting a little bit late, but relatively on time. So let me launch the intro and then we'll have a chat with. Hi everyone, so today I'm with Amanda Chaudhary. Hi Amanda.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, slight technical difficulty. We were planning to have a live streaming, and I don't know, the live streaming server is not working or not picking up the stream or
Yeah,
everything.
something weird. Something weird was going on deep inside the bowels of internet land.
Yes, that's the joy of live and technical difficulty. Okay, let me put an I in the chat so everyone knows that you are here. Okay. So I'm gonna cover a little bit the news and then we'll have a chat. Please feel free to interrupt in the news. We can talk to each other. All right, so first, if you want to know more, pitchymango.org, that's my site. If you're here, then don't forget to click like, subscribe, follow, everything. So you know all this event is happening every week, sorry. What are the news? So first, I'm still looking for performance for a resident that will be on the 14th of July. So it's on the bayimproviser.com. If you want to do a performance, you record like 20 minutes and upload to YouTube as unlisted, and you fill up the form, and we'll have a watch party all together. So that's a link for the Bay Improviser event. That's resident.
I might send you something for that.
That would be awesome. So that's on the 14th of July, and on the 5th of July, you've got Resonant Frequency. They are doing something very special. Also, it's also live streaming. So that's on Sunday, 5th of July, and it starts at 6 p.m. if I'm mistaken. I see Mariana has joined, and Sensor Music. Hi, everyone. What else do we have? So that's Resonant Frequencies. Next Friday, Bandcamp, like been doing it for the first Friday of every month, they are waiving their fees, their processing fees, and send that to the artist. So if you want to buy something on Bandcamp, next Friday is the right time. All the money goes to the artist. So that Friday, 3rd of July, just before the 4th. What do we have also? I saw that Chris Ochi has released a new album, Recursive. Is quite very nice, so please have a look at it. I'll put the link. That's been released, I don't know, like a few days ago. I just saw it popping it on my Spotify alert for some odd reason. What else do you have? So Carl Stone has released a new album, Gansey and Figley. Stone is a pioneer of what's the style of music of Carlson? He likes to take music and then put it back into different.
Yeah, there's really a wide variety in his music, and that's kind of the fun. I don't always know what I'm going to hear, but there's always something really loud in there, and then some of the variations.
Yeah, so yeah, he's an early pioneer also, so he's making some really interesting. What else do I have? I've got a friend, Audio Terrorist, also, if you want to take his album. Used to live here in the Bay Area. Also, a few weeks ago, I spoke about the San Francisco Tape Music Collective that has released an album. and I got some production note from Maggie Payne that she did a shield. So that's the piece that she composed on the, what did she tell me? It's a Moog. It's on the Moog Modular 3P that is at the Mills College, except one part which is some sound wicked that she. And the piece was fitting at the same time as a launch of the Sun Pro. Basically, check it out. It's nice. San Francisco Tape Music Collective is the offshoot of the San Francisco Tape Music Center, if you want to call it the extension. Well, Jonathan Feather joined. Hi, Jonathan. So here we go. So, Amanda, who are you?
Who am I? Let's see. Well, I mean, I'm a musician, engineer, and I've always been combining those different interests in music, mathematics, computers for decades now. I did a lot of my formative work in Berkeley at the Center for New Music and Audio Technologies, which is how I ended up out here in the Bay Area, originally from New York. Go back as often as I can, although not at the moment. And hi, friends in New York, if you're on the stream. So there's always been a sort of a mixture of different kinds of music. Sometimes I've been focused on very technological, very computer-centric things. More recently, I've been doing a lot more with modular. But all along, I'm also a trained pianist, classical, but especially jazz. And I've been very immersed in especially 70s style funk fusion type jazz music. So I mix that a lot in what I do. My current music really mixes a lot of the experimental electronics with a lot of jazz idioms. And that's what we would have been hearing today. I also, of course, love cats, and about, 14 years ago, started CatSynth as a blog, originally just to try as a way of trying to promote my new album, which I just had released at that point. But it took off as its own thing, and so it became the bigger thing. And I was doing that for years and years. It was cats, synthesizers, music, but also music reviews, art reviews. My strange obsession with roads and highways. You can see the little Route 58 back there. And then in 2017, I launched CatSynth TV, and that really took over. So that's on YouTube at CatSynth TV, and that is the best place to hear my music, which has decidedly gone in the direction of film scoring and things like that.
To grab the link.
Yeah.
I'm pasting the link of CatSynth. Go and have a look.
Yeah.
I see Tom Schill, Malaki, VTH42 have joined and nothing. Hi.
Yes. VTH42 is a Vacuum Tree Head and Nub Dug ensemble who are working on a brand new album as well right now. That should be coming out soon.
Okay, that's cool. I've got a question from from Mariana. What did your knowledge in classical music help you to be a better electronic musician?
Okay. It's a great question. I think, we have to be very careful when we say, like, what is classical music? And, like, not to make like classical music is music, but that particular training, especially when I got to college, and then gave me, it gave me some basic chops on my instrument. It was sometimes frustrating, tedious to practice, but when you look back on it, you realize what that gave me, along with Ed. The classical gave me the chops for jazz, which then gave me the chops for all music. What it also did is introduced me to music theory. And of course, music theory encompasses a lot more than just classical music. And by classical, of course, I'm talking about the 20th century and now 21st century Western art music traditions. And so that gave me ideas on how to structure music, on, all right, like, for example, if you are using tonality, here's some things you can do. Here's things you can subvert. So really, a lot of what classical music has taught me is how to subvert well, so that, you know, if you're going to not follow the rules, you don't have just a mishmash of everything. You still have a structure and a narrative in your music. You still have timbral things coming in and out, dynamics. And both classical and jazz have taught me how to listen, which is still the most important tool I have in any type of music I do, whether it's electronic, whether it's a jazz combo, whether it's rock.
Yeah, that's an interesting part. You came to perform once with us at in one ball at the office in.
Yeah.
And,
sorry I wasn't able to do that more often. I just had meetings during that time.
Yeah, no, it's difficult on the Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
We got this chance to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's great.
But that's a part also that taught me how to listen, because we are all performing together.
Right.
And you need to find your voice in the middle of everybody. So you need to listen to others. Otherwise, you do your stuff and then you ignore everybody. And if you want to make it work, then you need to answer each other's music.
Yes. So I think that's important. And again, the jazz tradition gives me that too, where like even, you know, not only do we just take solos and listen to each other, and I'm a rhythm player really more than a melodic player, a lot of comping, a lot of just keyboard chords. So a lot of listening there, trying to stay in time, but then also things like trading twos. If you have a group of, like we had at LinkedIn, with things, you could trade twos essentially, especially when we were sharing a clock.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I've got some new people joining. I see Stroma Video Sound. I see Eric Hayes. I hope I fixed my sound mic. I've got Mishek on Twitch and Soundjerk on Twitter. Sorry, on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's streaming everywhere. So Twitch, Facebook, Mixer, while it's still up and running, Periscope, and YouTube. So choose your platform. Let's go back maybe a little bit to CatSynth TV. I watched your, I don't know, some of the video when you did the, I don't know, Bullet and the Inspector Harry. But the last one about the driving with a kind of 80s music, that was really nice.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's very much that's the second most recent one now, because the most recent one dropped yesterday. That's a in-depth demo of the Arturia Prophet V. So the channel really encompasses a lot of things. So there's the bread and butter these days are the synthesizer demos, some virtual instruments, especially like the Arturia V collection. I'm trying to go through all of those. I demonstrate different modules, different hardware synthesizers, try to give people an accessible but in-depth view of those. Of course, the channel started out doing live performances and, you know, interviews with people during the intermissions. Fewer and fewer of those these days, but that was kind of how it got started. But we've also done some art shows, and then I'm trying to put in other things. I do my own art videos, a lot of things like the, you know, there's ones that are these sort of very serene scenes from places in the desert of California, but then there's the one that, you know, Franck was just mentioning that I did, which is driving on I-80 and US 101 here in San Francisco, and I wrote actually kind of 70s disco action movie soundtrack for it. That was so much fun to make. I loved making that bit of music, and I will be reusing it. But that's where the whole interest in Bullet comes from, is the mixture of that 70s vibe and the fact that it's San Francisco and I can identify all the locations. I'm going to be doing more of those for New York as well.
Oh, that's cool. I just refreshed my YouTube page, I think, since I don't know, a few days ago when we chat. So now I can see the Arturia Prophet 5 demo.
Yeah. So there's quite a variety of things on there. It's sort of a cultural content is the way I try to encompass everything. But so synthesizers, there's some cat things on there. Sam had her own video recently, my smaller little black and white cat.
What I will do also is that let me give the link people. So if they want to join this video chat and ask question directly, this is a link. You can use it in any browser and video camera, video conferencing. So if you want to ask question directly to Amanda, You can do that. Otherwise, put your question on the chat and I will relay them. I saw El Nasty Butler join and Darwin Arts, and they're all saying hi.
Oh, hi. I know who they are. Hey, folks. Hi, Wayne.
That's cool. I think I saw CatSynth TV evolving a little bit over the year. So, it
has, like it was, again, it started off as this sort of almost punk kind of thing. I go with just a lavalier and my iPhone to various stuff, go to shows, get people's impressions of what they had just played, have them do the tagline, "You are CatSynth TV" at the end. And then I brought it to NAMM, where I go every year. We'll see if it actually happens this coming year or not. I don't know. And needed to up the game for that. Just running around with a lavalier and an iPhone is not quite enough for that environment. Doing a lot, now doing a lot more things with more evolved cameras, a lot more production in the studio. Perhaps the most advanced production I did recently was the mathematics video I did, the series on exponential functions, the third one, which brought in multiple cameras, different tracks, and even animation, animation with speech in it.
I'm trying to show it on the screen at the same.
Yeah, that was a lot of work, but it's definitely bringing the channel up to. It's been a learning experience, learning how to do more of these things. It's going from just being a sort of guerrilla videographer with an iPhone to really kind of more, it's kind of, more real filming is the way I'd say it.
Yes, indeed. And, it's on the way you use the equipment that you have, and then you start to know which equipment you need.
Yes.
And that makes, because this equipment is a little bit expensive, so you're
believe me, I made a few mistakes along the way, but you learn from it.
Yes, indeed. I see also your I saw your modular rig. You have got a lot of Metasonics equipment.
Yes. In fact, I think I can drop the other camera over here. Yeah, we can look at this camera. So I think we should be seeing that right now. So there's that's the main modular. Of course, there's a couple other things here. There's a smaller performance and effects rack that I use. I don't know if we're seeing that, which has the that's the one I take to live shows these days. It has a Strymon Magneto and Qubit Prism in it, which are my most used modules these days because they are great for live sources, for external sources, as well as just generating their own things. So that little rack can be used by itself. There's my mini brute and rack brute, work in progress, trying to get some more modules in there. And then, of course, there's the massive modular that we are seeing here. There we go. It's backwards, so it's a little bit things there. And yes, as we're saying, there's quite a bit of Metasonics in those. So I have two of the older yellow Metasonics. So they're one is a ring mod and wave shaper, and the other is the super module, a recreation of one of Eric's original pedals, standalone things that had a much more colorful and much more blue name originally. And then there's this other one, which I've been using quite a bit, the low pass gate. That's a thing that we do with West Coast synthesis.
Yeah, I've got a couple of low pass gate too.
Yeah, so I have a couple low pass gates here. So, our Buchla heritage that we have here in the Bay Area.
At the moment, I use my low pass gate to do the sound of waves.
Right. Yeah. No, it's great for that, but I also use it. I use them a lot for those sort of percussive and sort of pizzicato string kind of sounds. They're great for those. So that gives me that kind of a texture, while then sort of longer envelopes are used for either piano or wind type sounds or the waves or things like that to shape it.
I see Dustin Carpenter. I say, keep up the great work. Love the Model D in the studio and the modular rigs.
Oh, thank you. There'll definitely be more of that. There's the next video, which is going to be up, is going to be a modular demo coming up. I won't give away what some standalone equipment mixed with the modular. I won't give away which pieces of equipment will be used because I like to have the big, large professional things like the mini mode, but I also have a lot of small things like Volcas, and all of those have their own, they have their own purpose. And so some of these, maybe some of the smaller, more budget equipment, when you put it with the modular, you get some great effects.
Mariana is asking, any music collaboration coming up?
Actually, that's a great question. I've been since we started the sheltering and stuff like that. I've been mostly working solo, primarily on CatSynth TV. But I do have a couple of collaborations that have been going on. The most exciting one right now, which we'll be seeing soon, is I have become friends with and I'm now collaborating with the great Grant Calvin Weston, a drummer out of Philadelphia, who is actually a hero of mine and many people. He's worked with Ornette Coleman. He worked with other folks. I have albums that he's on here, and so it's great to actually be playing there. I have some drum tracks that he's created for me that I will be working with. And that will be both on Bandcamp and on CatSynth TV coming up in the next couple weeks. I am also working with BTH 42, which is Jason Berry's Nub Dug Ensemble. We're working on a new album coming out there. I've been doing a lot of orchestration for that with virtual instruments, as well as sound engineering. The same studio has a really nice Pro Tools setup, so we were doing our own sound engineering here. Those are some of the big collaborations I have coming up. Also going to be working with my friend Robert Pepper, who does the Ambient Chaos series out in New York. I always play on whenever I'm back there, and so we'll be putting together something for that pretty soon.
That's cool. Oh yes, so let me take a different tack. So as you've seen, I started a kind of a timeline of the history of electronic music in the San Francisco Bay Area. Right. And you say earlier that you did your study at the Center for New Music Audio Technology in Berkeley.
Yes.
So how was it? What did you learn, or what do they do there?
Yeah, I learned a lot of things there. So yeah, I think a lot of what we were hearing there is a lot of things I learned there, which I hadn't been doing as much when I was at Yale before that, is that SynMat was very focused on real-time performance. That was their thing. This was a focus, this is the focus of David Wessel, who was the director there, and sort of the the soul of SynMat, and kind of set the vision for what we did musically. Unfortunately, no longer with us, passed away in 2014. So I was working with him a lot, also with Adrian Freed, who is no longer at SynMat, but still doing a lot of live performance. In fact, he just did a Hackerspace live stream on Thursday with some of his newest instruments. So really our goal there was trying to do live performance beyond MIDI, I think was a lot of the ways we thought about it. And so it was trying to get a lot of, how could you capture, nuanced performance live? So on the synthesis side, we did a lot with resonances, a lot with additive synthesis and other types of performance there. But then also a lot of things with controllers. We also wanted low latency and a lot of live bandwidth protocols. So it was part of the group that developed Open Sound Control. Can't take credit for it myself, but I was definitely involved there, writing with it, and certainly used it in a lot of my early software. It's also through SynMat that I met Don Buchla. He was, a frequent presence. We spent many a night, just having beers with David Wessel and Don Buchla, talking about whatever, and it really would be wide-ranging whatever. So this was, Bay Area electronic music had been going on for a while, so I kind of just came into it in the late 90s, and it was already thriving at that point. But, it was a great time to connect with the different generations that were happening.
Yes, indeed. And I was looking. So I don't know. There's like preschool education center in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
You've got also the Mills College, which was
Yes.
also that got the San Francisco Tape Music Center
Yeah. Yeah.
moved
Yeah.
to the Mill College, and then you've got also what do they call it, Karma
Karma.
in Stanford.
Yeah, Karma at Stanford. Yeah, so I mean, did a lot of back and forth with Karma at Stanford. One thing, it's just a lovely place. I've performed down there quite a few times. Um, some friends of mine were and are professors there. So I studied with Jonathan Berger at Yale, who then, about the same time I left to come to Berkeley, he left to go to Stanford. Um, and then my friend and sometimes collaborator Go Wong has been doing a lot of interesting work there. And he and I worked at the start of Smule for a little bit, which was kind of trying to blend some of our ideas in computer music with the iPhone world. So much fun. And then also with the commercial world. A little bit less fun, but it's an interesting experience.
Yes.
And commercial has its own challenges.
Yes. Yes.
As you and I know. But Karma is there's a lot of cross pollination there. A lot of friends have gone through the center at Mills, still do. Beautiful place, and Tape Music Center is just such a heritage that where a lot of what we do derives from.
Yeah, I've started to read the book San Francisco Tape Music Center, and it's interesting that it operated like for just only 3 years, and it made such an impact on the environment here.
Right.
It was quite interesting.
Exactly.
And from there, then there was some activities around the Tape Music Center, but also I think it was a little bit of catalyst because they were trying to be outside of educational system and doing what they feel like. And also it was a mix of music research and performance, organizing concerts. So
Right.
that's interesting. Funny to look at the history in the area and then see all these places. I still have to go and see the Mills College and the Sinmat. I went to Karma recently at a series of concerts.
Yeah, Sinmet's still there, still operating. Wonderful performance space. I remember it's actually even more after I graduated and came back to do things that I was very involved in the research while I was there, and then I got to be more involved in the music as time went on. Setting up things for 8 channels, even 20 channels. There was the 8 channel surround, but then there was the 12 channel dodecahedron. I set up some special things to play on that.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I'm experimenting on the quadraphonic music, so special music is in.
Yeah, I did that. Occasionally I break out the extra speakers and try to do some stuff with that.
Also, what I saw is that you went to work for EMU also at one stage?
Oh yeah, I was at EMU Systems for a little while. After graduating, I went down, I started working with Creative Labs, which had bought EMU at that time. And then after a couple of years was working solely with EMU, managing their software team that did Emulator X, the software version of the legendary emulator line of samplers and synthesizers. So it really was bringing both the Proteus and the emulator features, and even some of the Morpheus features, into a software performance instrument. It was a real honor to work with that team and to even get to manage them and lead the production and release of that instrument all the way up through version 3.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, so you had that Buchla that was making instrument, and I think Sequential also. That was 3 companies in the Bay that were making.
Yeah, Buchla was certainly making instruments, really, really interesting ones. It's still an instrument that I covet personally. I have obviously we talked about low pass gates earlier, so I have, a Sputnik dual oscillator, and then a couple of low pass gates, which give me that very Buchla style kind of sound.
Yes.
And then even here from, I don't know if you can see that here. Let me pull that off. That's inspired by the Buchla Thunder. This is actually a collaboration between Senzel and Buchla Inc. To create a Thunder-like multi-touch interface. So that I've been using a lot. That's also the Senzel company out of the South Bay. My friend Peter Nyber runs that, and they do some great work now.
It's quite nice.
Yeah. Definitely. Even for those of us who don't have the giant, Rolls-Royce Buchla system here, we have the heritage of that system.
And that's
someday.
Also there's DIY community that create that make their own Buchla module to get it a little bit on the cheaper side.
DIY, a lot of DIY of the Buchla compatible things, and also trying to get that. That's where that Sputnik dual oscillator comes out. Actually, beautiful instrument. Although I'm probably going to look at getting one of those red panel things soon too. And there's also the community that sort of blossomed around the Surge platform. Both Surge himself, as well as a lot of people who've been doing the DIY things here in the Bay Area and beyond with that platform.
But yes, Surge moved in the 80s here.
Yeah.
Just opposite Robot Speak.
Yeah. So like a lot of my friends through Robot Speak, which has been a great meeting place for a lot of us. By the way, please, if you are in the Bay Area, do support them. Do buy something. Help us keep those alive.
Well, I'm waiting for Steve at Robot Speak. He's ordering the new release command module from Buchla, the 2.0.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've bought many a module from him over the years. In fact, he has been my Metasonics dealer. He's been my connection to that whole universe.
That's how I started. Also, I went there and
I did. I've performed there a few times, seen many performances. I think Tom Dill is on the live stream, so obviously we were friends before that, but that's a meeting place for us. And Tom and I also play. He plays in my band, which we haven't been able to get together in quite a while, but yeah.
Marina, the question, which is, can provide a long answer, but in short, what do you say is the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast electronic music?
Oh my goodness. That's a classic one. I do both. So I've tried not to be as much of a partisan as there is. There's a few, I think there's two, I kind of put those in, there's some CatSynth TVs which talk about this actually. Not explicitly, but touch on it. So there's two pieces to it. One is the synthesis side and the performative side. So the synthesis side, I would say, is that East Coast tends to be more subtractive. So they focused on the classic analog subtractive synthesis, where you have a rich oscillator, a classic thing like a sawtooth, a square, a pulse, or noise source. And then you remove frequencies from it using a filter. And maybe, remove or move them around using a resonance. West Coast tends to be more involved in taking a simple source, like a sine or a triangle, and adding things to it. So a lot of FM, a lot of wave shaping, a lot of wave folding, a lot of just, gnarly chopping things up and repositioning them. So it's more of a adding things to your sound source, adding timbre versus subtracting is, I think, a big part of it. And that's what you see in the oscillator sections, like the classic Buchla oscillator section with the two of them. You get wave folding, you get FM, you get AM. So you're adding things. And the other piece is on the performative side. So a lot of East Coast tends to be modeled after the traditional piano keyboard. So you can play it ideally polyphonically, but sometimes monophonically. And so the envelopes and triggers and the way the notes are shaped comes out of that world. So very easy to play, very easy to integrate into a band environment. A West Coast synthesis tends to be with either alternative controllers, a lot of the touch plates that I think Buchla, compromised on adding, but also a lot of things around the step sequencers, a lot of looping there, a lot of patterns and arpeggiators come out of that world. So it's really about trying to say electronic music has its own performance style and its own performance discipline that you build up. So this kind of goes back to the thing we talked about early on about classical music, is that East Coast, it's easier to map your classical training onto, whereas West Coast, you have to map it through music theory.
Yeah, and create some new way of representing score and remembering what's the partition like.
Yeah,
Oh,
I hope that's
music.
just touching on what they're looking for in the question.
Yeah, no, I think that's good, and also it's interesting to see different point of view of what's West.
Yeah, and like right here in the studio, I mean, there's a Moog back there. I play traditional, a lot of electric piano, Fender Rhodes type things. So both very East Coast in their discipline and methodology. So I think there's a place for both within a single composition as well as within a single musical practice. So I tend not to get into the verses as much.
Yes, indeed, and also some people have done the bridge, like I don't know, make noise that they call it their no coast and no control.
Oh yes, my friend Make Noise. Well, there's the whole world out of Asheville in North Carolina. I guess they could say it's the no coast.
Oh, somebody is joining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Roy.
Hey there.
Let me put so we can see all of us together.
Oh God, no.
Oh yes, you're on. So you want to ask a question to Amanda, Roy? You're live. It's your chance.
I don't know. Is the mic on? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the mic on. We can hear you.
No, I'm here to learn. I'm not here to.
Okay. Well, it's great to have you.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, let me put back on this one. And yeah, Roy, if you want to ask questions, feel free to. I mean, I want this stuff to be a discussion and let people call in and then people to discuss.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So usually
we weren't able to get the little performance going, but it was going to be modular and stuff.
Yeah, let me
Go ahead.
because it's half of the hour, and usually we put a performance, and we were trying to go live, and the streaming server was not working. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time, but I don't know if you can click on the start streaming. If it starts green, I will try to catch it. If not, we'll carry on the discussion.
Okay, let's try to start streaming there. Nothing. It's still gray, but we'll see what happens. We don't really dwell upon it.
I don't know if by luck all the star aligns. If not, what I will do is that we'll reschedule this streaming part.
Yeah, we'll do that for that. An hour is a long time to stream a performance. 15 minutes is like a perfect length for a solo thing for me. But we'll get something.
Let me know if it goes green on your side on the streaming. I can check also. Is a stream coming up? No, I don't see any stream coming up.
I don't see anything. So,
okay. Too bad. We give it a try. So I'm sorry about that. Sometimes technology.
Yeah.
We did the rehearsal 2 days ago, and everything was fine. Wonderful.
You never know. It's live music, folks. This is what happens. Technology.
Yes. And I still haven't figured out what should be my backups, but I've got you. And that's a good time to discuss things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do still a little re-summary. I saw redo the shoutouts. So I saw Mariana, which joined Sensor Music. Jonathan Fetzer was helping me. Help. Together we are running with Jonathan Warden. We are running Resident every month. Tom Chill, Malarkey was last week. Yes, Malarkey was last week.
Yeah, it's a great streaming too. Yeah.
Yes, it was cool. VTH42, Throma Video Sound, Eric Taze, Michek, Sanjuk, El Nasty Butler, Darwin Arts, Dustin Carpenter, and Roy, who's on the video.
Yep.
Because he's still on the video.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, and I don't know. The history of the music here. So you've got this community which has been built. It started, I don't know. I came in 2011 here in the Bay Area. I came before, but wasn't still much in.
Yeah.
And I saw that people were gravitating around the Robot Speak with the Church of the Super Surge.
Church of the Super Surge, yeah. It's kind of interesting because I would say there's a lot of different communities that happen, and I like to bridge a lot of these different communities. So there's the group we're talking about around Robot Speak. There were some people I already knew there, but then also a lot of new faces that I met through that. There's the Bay Area new music community, Bay Improviser. That it's around that where we post shows and have things. A lot of acoustic musicians, a lot of people who come out of the Bay Area improvising music scene, as well as people who come out of the contemporary classical. That's where I connected with a lot of the Mills folks. There's the group around Synmat and Karma, who I met, the sort of the electronic contemporary world, the research world there. And then there's my jazz world as well. So there's people who I met, we talk about Robot Speak. I was, in 2010 and 2011, just involved in a lot of just straight ahead jam sessions down the street at Cafe International, playing keyboard there, often being the bass player and even the drummer at times for that. And
I went there on the Sunday, and usually they've got a really good band.
Yeah, so I used to play in that band sometimes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like that was actually how I got back into doing my jazz chops regularly.
Cool.
Really good, and got back into practicing there, getting to doing that more often. And really that is a lot of what I do and a really important part of my music at this point.
I saw somebody raising their hand on the video. So is there anybody that want to ask a question?
Okay, I think Roy.
Roy, go ahead.
I was going to about the mind.
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit, Roy. One more time.
I was going to ask you about PETA of the Mind if you hadn't talked about it.
Oh, sure.
Earlier.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet, and that's my bad for not bringing that up. That's another group I play in. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I kind of a little bit wonder about process, but I also wonder about like reception. Like so much of what, and I think what we're all exploring through these online experiences right now is trying to figure out what our role is in terms of what it's about, communicating with an audience or just sort of expressing ourselves or whatever. Right. And PETA of the Mind is such a point of view. Like, and I wonder how you sort of adjust that project to the different mediums, the different audiences.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just to bring everyone up to speed, PETA of the Mind is another group that I have been performing with a lot. It's a music and poetry duo talking about a different community. That's an entirely different community that I have been involved with around, Bay Area writers primarily. But my dear friend and collaborator, Ma Shane Wynn, hi if she's on the stream, is this is a thing where we blend her writing, which has a very sort of abstract and spacious quality to it, also a very playful quality, to improvised music that I do. So I'll sometimes do very pretty piano things around very heartfelt stuff. We'll do very abstract modular things around some of them. And they're always these sort of very theatrical performances. We like to sing and dance on the screen. So they're always a lot of fun. We always have a color theme that we dress to for each of them. So that's the interesting thing, is that is very much about being in the space, being live. It's almost kind of a cabaret type performance. And we haven't really evolved it yet to this live streaming world. I think it would be possible to do, but we haven't done it yet. I think part of it is that both Ma and I are just such busy people. I've been so involved in CatSynth TV. She's been doing a lot of readings and stuff, and she's got some books out that she's been able to, get some good traction on during the last few things. So good for her on that. And but yeah, this is a good reminder that she and I should get together and figure out how we put that into this new world. But that again is a very different type of performance. I think what will be challenging there is that it is so, even though it's not a rhythmic performance between us, there is a rhythm to it, that it's so much about the interaction between us. Like she will say something and I'll even just like hit a wood block. She'll like go pop the chord, boink, and stuff like that. So latency is going to be a challenge in and of itself.
I've seen the Karma has been had some software, but I never had a look on latency and streaming and to check on it. Amanda, just a little tip. Look at the camera, not the screen. So look up a little bit.
Okay, to me.
Yeah, look at the camera, don't look at us on the screen.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I was watching Trevor Noah interviewing who was a previous guy from the show, but he was telling him, you look at the camera, you don't look at your screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's that's quite nice, the improvisation. Doing the in wobble, when we get together and we share the clock and you listen to each other, and with one would join phuturo when we do our show, the FM+1, then we've got a guest, and usually we all perform individually, and at the end then we share a clock and then we do a total improvisation because we haven't rehearsed. It's whatever the patch that we were performing in and get it together. And with one, we've got a good understanding of each other's sound, and we tell the guests, you play your stuff, don't play too many voices, just play a couple of them because you need to leave us some room, and don't worry about it, we'll follow you.
Yeah, so it's important to leave a lot of space when you do those group sort of performances. Totally agree on that. There's things you can do with a clock if you don't assume that you're in the same time, but you're within, if you share a meter, but not a specific time. So you're in phase with one another. There's definitely been systems over the last decade to do that. I've done, like I did a while ago, a lot of Ninjam performances with my friend Cynthia Payne and other folks online with that. And, that's something that'd be interesting to pick up again.
Yeah, the improvisation is quite interesting. One is asking, what's your favorite synth at the moment?
Oh my goodness. Favorite synth at the moment. That's the thing, is there's so many for different reasons. I have different instruments that I'm exceptionally fond of. Obviously my trusty Mini Moog is always finds a place in things. I've been using a lot of the Arturia soft synths right now for a lot of stuff that I do. Just because, and especially the electric pianos and things like that. You heard that in that driving through San Francisco video. In terms of modules, the ones that I've been using the most, I've been using a lot of my Strymon Magneto. It just gets into everything.
Oh, yes, the Magneto.
Yeah. And into the things there. God, what other instruments are great for that? Again, some of these things that give me the Buchla style stuff, the Sputnik and like noise engineering things for that. Of course, the Metasonic stuff is so much fun. It's really hard to pick a favorite, and I'm still thinking about it. I love all my Dave Smith's instruments by Prophet 12. It's a great one there, that, I never get tired of.
Yeah, and same for me, it's a little bit on phase, whatever I want to use and learn a little bit more.
The right instrument for the right piece of music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yes, indeed. It's funny because Sputnik, I got it from Steve at Robot Speak, and that was basically, I need an oscillator. And he said, I've got a Sputnik, you need to buy it. And I said, okay. And then it took me, months before I could start to understand what it is and what does it do.
Yeah. I find it's really smooth. It's really intuitive. I find one of the ones I usually play in. And so in a lot of CatSynth TV videos, it ends up being the oscillator used to demo something else.
Okay.
So it often plays a supporting role rather than a starring role, although it did get its own video to star in.
I see Monica Chu join. Hi, Monica. She say that we are talking about a lot of things that she's been thinking about. Monica does also a show. I think it's on Friday at 12, and then she repeats on
awesome.
Sunday at 12. She's
Have to check that out.
classical piano player, but
great.
she's also interviewing people, and also she likes a couple of modern classic, if I could say so, modern composer.
Please do get in touch with me. we can talk. We can talk sometime. We should talk sometime.
I can put you in touch.
Please do.
Yeah. Mental note. Remember. So if you heard Monica, Amanda, you can find her on Facebook too, or CatSynth TV.
Yeah.
We'll put the link again to. I've got the Bay Improviser. That's the best link to get.
Bay Improvisers is good. CatSynth TV, which is youtube.com/CatSynth. Cat like meow meow. Synth like synthesizers TV, and then you can subscribe. You can see all the different kinds of videos that we do.
Okay.
More coming up again next week.
Let me type it because from my YouTube tab I've got the horrible.
Yeah.
See cat. Synth TV. I think I've got it correct. And Synth TV. Okay. Hopefully that's the right one.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you copy from YouTube, you get the horrible.
Yeah, you get the horrible one, but I made the nice one.
Yes, I've got a nice one also, but I mean it's hard to find it on their page. Oh yes, so well. Monica say hi, and she's curious about your Ninjam experience.
Yeah.
And she was trying to recruit some classical friends to do it.
Okay. So what I've done with Ninjam mostly is kind of more of my sort of fusion type jams. So a lot of, you pick a meter and, you're not limited to 4/4, although 4 on the floor works really well for that. But you can also do 5, I think, quite well on that one too. And so we do a lot of, classic 1-bar, 2-bar jams, like a lot of 1/4, 1/4 type things. And even within that limited space, you can do so much. I mean, think about, the classic Herbie Hancock, early 70s fusion things there. If you get good players together, you can just do amazing things with that and just get lost in it. So that, you do that, you layer some just modular or other synthesizer color on top of it. But again, make sure to leave space. And, I think that's just a great, experience you can get lost in. So that's really the way I use it, is for those kind of, like 1-bar, 2-bar, 1-chord, 2-chord jams.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, playing together taught me to listen, and also I found out that it was taking us like 2 or 3 hours to get together. You arrive, you don't have to prepare anything. The game is just you arrive, your stuff is totally unpatched. And
so I think in some of those, it was also people come and go. So it was, we did some ninjas where just people like, someone would host it, but then people would come in, drop out, things like that. And then having that structure where you know what meter you're playing in, you can easily figure out what scale you're in, that you could just, cut in at any given point.
Yeah. Once you start to know the people, then you start to know what they do, what they like, how they perform. But it was fun because we didn't know each other, so the time to get in tune to each other and find the place was taking us a couple of hours. But then the last hours was really very nice because really in phase together.
Yeah, it's just a classic musical thing. It takes spend a lot of time prepping to play for a short time, but that short bit of time is usually worth it.
Yes, indeed. And I'm still trying to learn about chord playing keyboard and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I understand the concept, but modular, I go a little bit by here. Maybe I may be crazy. Maybe I'm not listening correctly. But that's part of the progress.
Yeah. Well, if and when we get the performance thing, I'll show kind of combining, where the Sputnik and the low pass gates are actually used as a melody and sort of ostinato thing that comes in and out of chord structures. So you'll be able to hear kind of some of the practice of using those disciplines together.
I'm just thinking out loud. I wasn't planning to do a show next Saturday because it's the 4th of July, but I'll see with you if you're available. Maybe we'll set it up on the 4th. Because everybody will be busy, maybe celebrating the 4th of July. I don't know. So I'll let people know. Otherwise, on the 11th of July, so the Saturday after, I will have Tanuki's Spider Cat perform with. I met her as she was performing with a dog liner show organized by Lachlan Fisher. That was quite cool. So that's a little bit for what's coming up. I've been also interested because I saw the community. So it says, I don't know, I call it the electronic music community from the open mic, from Robot Speak, Resident Resonant Frequency. And then I see the Bay Improviser that have got their spot at the Luggage Gallery.
Yeah, the Luggage Store Gallery that, Outsound, I'm on the board of that group as well. We had that series, the Luggage Store Gallery series, going for years and years and years.
And I think it's every week?
Every week, every Thursday. It hasn't been happening at all right now for obvious reasons, but, Baruch Hashem, someday again, but yeah.
I went there once, and I went there to perform once, but Thursday was not really convenient for me. And so I saw this group, and then you've got the people that are organizing the San Francisco Electronic Music Festival.
Yes.
And there's another group that I see also is a Gray Area group, and sometimes with Not Human.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
That organize some shows there is not exactly, I don't know if it's part of the Gray Area, but it's like a producer and then the organized show. But it's interesting to see this group and then how they start to know each other, but also have got their own affinity.
Yeah, the different groups, different peoples. You get to connect the dots between these clusters. I mean, there was also a lot of interesting things going on at the lab, for example, too. So.
Yeah, no, so it's quite cool. And and I think, I don't know, recently, I don't know why is it me that I'm looking at it, but recently the scene for electronic music has a little bit increased, or a little bit more activity.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's ebb and flows.
They all do, yeah.
And also there's a show that Kesol Luna is organizing the peak. At the moment it's off because that was nice. We're arriving a little bit at the top of the hour, so I don't know, is there any topic you would like to talk about, or is there anything we didn't cover?
I think we covered quite a bit there. I think if there's a final question, happy to.
Okay, I think somebody wants to.
Otherwise, we could probably bring things to a close.
Right, I see Roy has got another question.
Okay.
Right, Roy.
So I think probably one of the first times I saw you perform was with the cubes, the custom cubes.
Okay.
And you mentioned you're using soft synths now, and do you see opportunities to sort of since soft synths are so great sounding anymore, right? They just sound better and better, and they're so esoteric, and you can get a soft synth that does 12U worth of modules worth of noise out of it, software, right? So as the interface tools between software and hardware are becoming more and more available, are you seeing more opportunities to bring sort of esoteric sequencers and esoteric controllers into soft synth land so they're not stuck to some piano roll?
Yes, absolutely. I think, certainly, obviously, alternate controllers. I've been using a lot of Sensomorph with these as a different kind of controller. But then you can also bring, all of your modular sequencers, circadian rhythms, all sorts of things like that into this world. I mean, there's ways, obviously, you can go from CV to MIDI as well as from MIDI to CV. But something I've actually been doing quite a bit of lately is that I have Expert Sleepers has the audio RAID interfaces. In fact, I had one of those set up for today's performance. I have the ES8 that has, a ton of channels inside. So I can actually, the goal there is to be able to seamlessly blend Max MSP and Jitter, the video synthesis world, with my modular synthesis world. So software and hardware really working together as a single unit. Still a work in progress. I have a couple CatSynth TVs that were just very primitive versions of trying to get to that. But yeah, so I definitely see a lot of opportunity to really bring the two of those together now, especially within the studio environment.
Yeah, last week I was talking with Malaki also, who have the Morph, and he was talking that he interfaced directly with the data stream from the Morph to create his own performance section and develop his own interface on iPad.
Yeah, no, there is definitely. I've looked at there's the raw morph input on Max MSP. I've tweaked around with it. I don't have anything yet that I'm not embarrassed to show people. So.
And I remember this performance with a cube at RobotSpeak. That was quite cool.
Oh right, yeah, I have the cubes there too. Sometimes they're just light sources at this point, but yeah, I do use them occasionally as well. There, it's kind of stringing things together to get it to between the hardware interface. I know they've been very focused on their own synthesizer recently.
Yeah. Oh, right drop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put you back on the unseen. So yeah, we are arriving at I think we cover a little bit of everything. So CatSynth TV. Please have a look on the video, go on the channel and subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe, join us. Lots of new interesting things. If you want to learn how to do a lot of the things we talked about, whether it's the software synthesizers or modular, there's lots of tutorials there. But then, we also talk about film, books coming up soon as well. Pretty much anything related to, modern culture that strikes my fancy.
Put it on the main screen. Yeah, and also David Van Brick joined and he say hi, Amanda.
Hey David, good to virtually see you. We used to do some stuff back in the Santa Cruz days.
That's nice. Oh yeah, EMU was in Santa Cruz, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that's where I learned there. Darwin Arts, David Van Brink.
And Dave Rossum has so EMU no longer exists, but Dave Rossum is still producing some modules.
He's still doing a lot under his own name. In fact, I have a Morpheus, which is the Z-plane 3-dimensional filter, but just the filter section of that with the full 3-dimensional CV input. Still an instrument that it is I haven't mastered yet, but yeah, there's also a lot of classic Proteus Morpheus stuff in the back there that I acquired during my days at EMU, let's just say. And
yeah, and it's nice when also behind the scene, the people behind, it's a personal relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go back to what were the news of the week and give you the word for the. Oh no, not this one. So I would like to thank also all my Bandcamp subscribers. That allow me to pay for the extra bandwidth and streaming and all this, also me producing music, so thank you very much. If you want to join their name, go to frankmartin.bandcamp.com and you can subscribe yearly. It's kind of Patreon-like, and the first one is like $20 a year, so it's way cheaper than Patreon. Allow me to recover some costs. So don't forget to subscribe also on Amanda CatSynth TV. What was the news that we have? So Resident is on the 14th of July, and you can submit 20-minute performance piece of electronic music, any kind of electronic that you created and that you're performing, and then we'll have a watch party. There is resonant frequency on the Sunday 5th of July also. I think I've got a link on the Bay Improviser too, so I think you can sign up for it, but it will be also streamed live. This Friday, Bandcamp is doing their monthly Friday, all their fees goes to the artist. So if you want to purchase something on Bandcamp, then just start to put that in your wish list, and then Friday, that's why you do all the purchase. And some tip for purchasing, you've got Recursive from Chris Ochi that had just released an album that last week. You've got Carlstone also, released Gansi and Figly. Carlstone is a pioneer of electronic music in the Bay Area. I've got also a friend, Audio Terrorist, that I've got album. And he does a show on the San Francisco Theme Music Collective that has released an album. There's various composers. Maggie Payne is the kind of director of the tape music department at college. I see Matt Ingalls also, a couple of other people. So it's a very experimental type and different piece. Have a look at it. Amanda also, you're present on SoundCloud. I think, I don't remember. Do you have something on Bandcamp?
I do, but I do have some stuff. It's on Bandcamp, Amanda Chaudhary. But right now the focus has been primarily on CatSynth TV. Look for some stuff there later in the summer, but there are some things there to check out, definitely, including my classic album.
Well, I'll paste the link on Be Improviser so people can
there is.
link and then
there is on
all the sites.
I'm on Bay Improviser on all the sites, Twitter, CatSynth as well, and stuff like that. So
yeah, what I like in Bay Improviser is that you don't need to log into anything to get information.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't need to become a member. You can. So CatSynth TV, that's the site, and the channel. I'm gonna do also my own plug. Also, I release a CD and a DVD. A DVD in 5.1. It's a quadrophonic piece that I recorded and then I produce it. I released it in the 5.1 and put it on your home theater and have a quad like at home.
Okay.
So that's available on my bank.
Awesome.
So Amanda, that was really nice to have you. I'm just checking if anybody has got a last question. I see all that's gonna join or just say hi. It was really nice to have you, and I'm terribly sorry about the I don't know, the internet gods were not on our side today.
Yeah, we'll try again. We will definitely try again. To be continued,
as they say.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining, and so maybe on the 4th I'll see with Amanda if we can redo the live streaming. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll meet on 11 on July with Tanuki Spider Cat. Okay, bye Amanda.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.
All right.
Change the outro. Bye everybody.
Bye.